Picture this. You're sitting at a routine checkup. The cuff tightens around your arm. You hear the familiar hiss of air releasing. Then the nurse goes quiet, just a second too long, before she writes the number down. Your blood pressure is high. Again. And the most frustrating part? You've been doing everything right. You cut the salt. You walk most mornings. You take your medication without missing a single day, and it still won't budge. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not out of options. Because what most people are never told, and what we're going to look at together today, is that the most powerful lever available to your cardiovascular system isn't hiding in a pharmacy. It's been sitting in your kitchen the entire time. In the next few minutes, we're going to walk through 5 specific, science-backed habits you can start today. No exotic supplements, no expensive programs, just practical changes most people can make with what they already have at home. Stay with us, because by the end of this video, a lot of things that have felt confusing for a long time may finally start to make sense. Here's something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. After the age of 50 or 60, blood pressure doesn't just rise because of salt or stress alone. Something much deeper is happening inside the body. And once you understand it, everything else in this video will make complete sense. Think about a brand new garden hose. When water flows through it, the walls stretch and flex with every push of water. It handles the pressure because it's pliable, elastic, forgiving. Now imagine that same hose after years of sitting outdoors in the heat. The rubber hardens. It loses that give. The same volume of water now creates significantly more pressure inside walls that can no longer adapt. That's a simplified picture of what's happening inside aging blood vessels. The clinical term is arterial stiffness, and it's one of the most important, least discussed contributors to high blood pressure in older adults. Your heart hasn't necessarily gotten weaker. The pathways it's pushing blood through have simply become narrower and less flexible over time. And here's where it gets interesting. Most people assume this is just an unavoidable part of getting older, but modern vascular research points to a different root cause, one that's far more within your influence than most people realize. Chronic, low-grade inflammation inside the vessel walls, not the kind of inflammation you feel after twisting an ankle. That kind is visible, short-term, and purposeful. This inflammation is completely silent. There are no obvious symptoms. You don't feel it happening. But day after day, year after year, it works quietly on the inner lining of your arteries, gradually stiffening and narrowing those pathways. Think of it like fine grit slowly accumulating inside delicate plumbing. You can't see it building up, you can't feel it, but the pressure it creates is very real. And here's the part that surprises most people. When those arterial pathways narrow, your heart is forced to pump harder just to move blood through. That constant elevated force eventually reaches your kidneys, your body's main fluid balancing system. When the kidneys are under sustained pressure, they struggle to regulate fluid correctly, and that backup can drive your baseline blood pressure even higher. It becomes a loop. Inflammation stiffens the vessels, the heart works harder, the kidneys strain, the pressure climbs further. But here's the important part. That loop has an entry point, and one of the most consistent entry points, backed by decades of research, is what you eat. Every meal is either calming that inflammatory process or quietly accelerating it. That's exactly what these 5 habits are designed to address, from 5 different directions, all working toward the same outcome. Let's be honest about what this actually feels like day to day. You wake up and you don't feel rested, even though you slept. You sit on the edge of the bed for a moment before you're ready to stand. You walk through the grocery store and your legs feel heavier than they should. You finish dinner and you're on the couch within 30 minutes, not because you overate, but because your body just seems to run out of fuel. And through all of it, those blood pressure numbers keep coming back too high, despite everything you're doing. If that's where you are right now, this matters. Your body has not given up on you. Blood vessels are living tissue. They aren't passive pipes. They respond. They adapt. When chronic inflammation decreases, when post-meal blood sugar swings become gentler, when the right compounds consistently signal your vessel walls to relax, the body often responds faster than people expect. The problem isn't that your biology is beyond help. The problem, for most people, is that nobody has shown them the specific conditions that allow the body to do what it's already designed to do. Imagine your doctor looking at your numbers at the next checkup and saying, "Whatever you've been doing, keep doing it." That's not a fantasy. That's what research backed lifestyle changes, applied consistently over weeks and months, can realistically support. Not a guaranteed cure, not an overnight fix, but real measurable improvements in how your cardiovascular system functions, the kind that show up in actual lab results. And it's important to be clear, none of what follows is a replacement for your medication or your doctor's guidance. These 5 habits are tools that work alongside proper medical care, not instead of it. If you take blood pressure medication, please talk with your healthcare provider before making significant changes. Everyone's biology is different, and your doctor is your most important partner in this. But for most adults over 50, giving your body the right daily environment can make a meaningful difference. Let's build that environment together. This first habit costs absolutely nothing. It doesn't require a single change to your grocery list, your recipes, or your portions. It is simply about the order you eat what's already in front of you. At every meal, starting tonight, eat your fibrous vegetables completely first, before the protein, before the starch, before anything else on the plate. Here's why it works. When you eat fiber-rich vegetables first, that fiber begins forming a slow gel-like layer along your digestive tract. Think of it as a natural speed governor. It dramatically slows how quickly the carbohydrates from the rest of your meal enter your bloodstream as sugar. Why does that matter for blood pressure? Because every sharp post-meal blood sugar spike triggers your body to release a surge of insulin, and that insulin surge sends a direct signal to your blood vessels. Tighten, constrict, narrow. Right there at the dinner table, your pressure is climbing and you have no idea it's happening. Research has associated repeated blood sugar spikes with increased arterial stiffness over time. By simply leading with vegetables, you may be able to blunt those spikes without changing a single thing you're eating. The sequence: vegetables first, protein second, carbohydrates last. Try it consistently for 2 weeks. Check your post-meal readings if you can. Many people are genuinely surprised by what they notice. Habit 2, a simple pre-meal drink. There's a bottle sitting in most kitchen pantries right now that gets very little credit for what research suggests it can do. Apple cider vinegar, 1 to 2 tablespoons stirred into a full glass of water before each meal. Skepticism here is healthy. Good skepticism is what keeps us from wasting time on things that don't work. So let's look directly at the science. The active compound in apple cider vinegar is acetic acid. Studies suggest that acetic acid may do 2 specific things relevant to blood pressure. First, it may improve insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells respond to insulin more efficiently, so your body doesn't need to release as much of it in response to food. Fewer insulin surges, less vessel tightening, lower post-meal pressure stress. Second, and this is the part that stands out in the research, acetic acid has been associated with increased production of nitric oxide in blood vessel walls. Nitric oxide is your body's natural signal to blood vessels to relax and open up. It's one of the primary mechanisms behind an entire class of blood pressure medications, and your body can produce it on its own with the right nutritional support. One important caution: never drink apple cider vinegar undiluted. Always mix it with at least 8 ounces of water. Use a straw when possible to protect your tooth enamel. If you have a history of acid reflux or stomach ulcers, speak with your healthcare provider before starting this habit. For most people, this is a low-cost, low-risk addition worth testing consistently for 3 to 4 weeks. Habit 3, a handful of walnuts before bed. Here's something that almost never comes up in standard conversations about blood pressure, and it probably should. What happens to your blood pressure while you're asleep? For many adults over 60, pressure doesn't drop the way it should overnight. It's supposed to decrease during sleep, giving the heart and blood vessels a genuine period of rest and recovery. But in a pattern called nocturnal hypertension, pressure stays elevated or even spikes during sleep, completely undetected. Here's the troubling part. Your standard daytime readings will not catch this. You can have acceptable morning numbers and still have significant pressure elevation happening every single night while you sleep. Research strongly associates nighttime blood pressure patterns with long-term cardiovascular risk, sometimes more so than daytime readings. So what may help? Research suggests that approximately 30 grams of walnuts, roughly 14 halves, eaten about 30 minutes before sleep, may be associated with meaningful reductions in nighttime blood pressure. Walnuts are one of the richest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. They also contain melatonin and an amino acid called L-arginine, both associated with nitric oxide production, helping vessel walls relax during the hours when your body most needs that rest. Think of it as a quiet, nourishing signal to your cardiovascular system. The day is done. Stand down. 30 grams. 14 halves. 30 minutes before bed. Write that down. Habit 4. Hibiscus tea, 3 cups a day, deep red, tart, slightly floral, and remarkably well studied for cardiovascular support. Hibiscus tea has been used in traditional medicine across West Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East for generations. Modern cardiology research has now caught up with what those traditions seem to have understood intuitively. The hibiscus flower contains compounds called anthocyanins and organic acids, specifically hibiscus acids. Research has found that these compounds act on blood vessels in a way that is strikingly similar to a class of prescription medications called ACE inhibitors. ACE inhibitors are among the most commonly prescribed blood pressure medications in the world. What they do is block a specific enzyme that signals your blood vessels to tighten. Hibiscus appears to work through a similar mechanism, naturally, and without the dry cough that many patients on ACE inhibitor medication experience as a side effect. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that daily hibiscus tea consumption was associated with an average reduction in systolic blood pressure of approximately 7 points in adults with mildly elevated readings. 7 points is clinically meaningful. That's the kind of result that appears in peer-reviewed research and in clinical conversations. 3 cups a day, morning, afternoon, and evening, hot or cold. Minimal added sugar, since sugar works directly against the cardiovascular goals we're working toward. A small amount of honey is perfectly fine. One important note: if you are currently taking ACE inhibitor medication, please speak with your doctor before adding regular hibiscus tea to your routine. Combining the two may push blood pressure lower than intended. As always, your healthcare provider is your partner here, not a barrier. For most people, this is one of the most genuinely pleasurable habits on this list. Habit 5. Replace the wrong cooking oils. After this video is over, walk to your kitchen and open the cabinet where you keep your cooking oils. What's in there? If you see canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, or anything labeled simply vegetable oil, this section is especially important for you. These oils are extremely high in a type of fat called omega-6 fatty acids. And omega-6 isn't inherently harmful. Your body needs some. The problem is the ratio. For most of human history, people consumed roughly balanced amounts of omega-3 and omega-6 fats. Today, largely due to the widespread use of refined seed oils in home cooking and processed food, the average person consumes somewhere between 15 and 20 times more omega-6 than omega-3. That extreme imbalance is strongly associated in research with chronic systemic inflammation, the same silent, slow-burning process that contributes to arterial stiffening we discussed at the very beginning of this video. There's also a compounding problem. Many of these refined oils are chemically unstable at cooking temperatures. When heated on your stove, they oxidize and break down into compounds that research has associated with direct irritation to blood vessel walls. You won't taste it. Your food won't look different. But the effect accumulates with every meal, over months and years. So what should replace them? For everyday cooking and dressings, extra virgin olive oil. It's rich in natural anti-inflammatory compounds called oleocanthals and has been associated with cardiovascular benefit in decades of large-scale population studies. No serious scientific debate surrounds this recommendation. For higher heat cooking, real butter. Ideally from grass-fed sources when available and used in sensible amounts. Yes, butter. The science on this has shifted considerably from what many people were told 20 or 30 years ago. Margarine, made from the same refined vegetable oils we're replacing, is not a better alternative. This swap takes no extra time, it costs no more effort, but over 3 to 6 months, research suggests it may meaningfully reduce one of the primary dietary drivers of vascular inflammation, one cabinet, one decision, real impact over time. Let's bring it all together. 5 habits. Same goal. 5 different doors into the same room. 1. Eat your vegetables before anything else at every meal. 2. 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in water before each meal. 3. About 30 grams of walnuts, 14 halves, 30 minutes before sleep. 4. 3 cups of hibiscus tea daily, with minimal sugar. 5. Replace refined seed oils with extra virgin olive oil and real butter. Every single one of these works through the same foundational pathway, reducing chronic inflammation and supporting blood vessel flexibility, not through 5 separate mechanisms, through one unified direction, approached 5 different ways. And here's the honest truth about what comes next. Knowing these habits is the easy part. Building them into your actual daily life consistently enough that your body starts to respond, that's where most people get stuck. Not because they lack motivation, but because they're trying to change everything at once, without a clear sequence, without a simple structure to follow. That's exactly why we created the 30-Day Blood Pressure Reset Foundation, a day-by-day blueprint that organizes these exact habits into a structured, progressive sequence. Each day is laid out clearly so there's no guesswork about what to do next. The nutrition side follows a DASH-style framework, with the spices we've talked about today already built into the daily meal suggestions, so you're not trying to bolt them on as an afterthought. The movement side starts genuinely gentle. Short walks after meals, beginner-friendly exercises like wall sits and planks that you can do at home without any equipment. As the weeks progress, it builds into light strength training, the kind that supports circulation and vascular health without requiring a gym membership or an hour of your day. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing the right things consistently, with a clear path in front of you. If that sounds like something that would genuinely help you, the link is in the description below. And before you do anything else today, just pick one thing from this list: the vegetable order at dinner tonight, a cup of hibiscus tea this afternoon, a handful of walnuts before bed, one small, honest decision. Repeated consistently. That is not a small thing. Your cardiovascular system is not done adapting. Give it the right environment, and it will show you exactly what it's still capable of. If this video gave you something genuinely useful, subscribing helps us keep making content like this, practical, research-backed, and focused on what you can actually do. And if something in this video resonated with your experience, or if you have a question, leave it in the comments.